In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today, we're going to dig into some tactical considerations for how to develop philosophy around custom GPTs. I'm going to see if I can get some information about creating a doppelganger so that you can create content from your custom GPT that is just like what you would do and requires very little editing. Also, we'll dig into how custom GPTs are being used for teams and maybe even business-wide. Today, I'm welcoming Jeff Borschowa, who is a returning guest and a business strategist who specializes in helping entrepreneurs build efficient tech-enabled systems. Jeff's experience spans accounting, automation, and AI implementation with a current focus on custom GPTs. In this episode, we'll explore how these tools are being built and deployed to solve real-world business problems and streamlining operations. Jeff, thanks so much for spending some time with me today.
Emanuel, it is my absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Absolutely. I love the work that you're doing, and I think it's fun to talk to you because you are way more OCD about a lot of this stuff than I am. And so I'm kind of the philosopher, and you are the implementer in this scenario. So I appreciate you sharing some of your secrets.
Well, and for what it's worth, I'm blessed with ADHD, OCD, and autism. So I have hyper focus and I have all over the place focus or lack of focus. So, your tagline, adapt or die, is really, I don't think it's been more true than now with what AI can do. And I think it's just a fascinating time to be alive.
Oh, I agree. And, in every situation, there's threats, there's opportunities, and there's obligations. And with this technology, that, of course, exists because we're humans using a technological innovation. And I think in this context of custom GPTs, there's a lot of opportunity there to get some time back in our daily administrative life. So maybe we could just start with, what's a GPT? What's a custom GPT? And what all the language is?
Great. Well, I'll be honest. I've played with it so much, I've forgotten what GPT stands for, but it's something to do with the general train model. So I'll use the word large language model. And basically a generic model is exactly that. Think of it. It is the generalist. It's the old school family doctor who you can pay in chickens, or you go visit them, and you get what you get depending on the day and location. They can be good, but I would also say so. ChatGPT is my favorite, and yes, I picked a favorite early on, and people say, well, I use this one, this one, this one. My advice is pick one because it's training you, you're training it. So I use Gemini for a few things, but most of my life is ChatGPT.
Yep.
And I can say I get better results from it now because I've spent the last, I've probably spent about 6,000 hours training the model, and it's training me. So that's what most people are aware of. When we talk about AI, they see the surface level, which is, it can be the free version of ChatGPT. I don't recommend. It can be, the basic paid version, which is what I use all the time, or they have, higher levels and enterprise level and things like that. For me personally, I use the basic paid version and I get great results. Now, a custom GPT, and I know, again, this more from the Chat GPT, the OpenAI world. In Gemini, they call it gems. I don't know what they call it in other tools. But basically, if you think about a custom GPT, it's more of a specialist trained to do something specific. And if that hurts your brain as a business owner and entrepreneur, sorry, I speak Canadian, so if people don't get this word, I say process. I think you guys say process.
We do, yeah.
Basically, a custom GPT is just a process for getting something done and getting consistent results. So, as an example, I'll just back up.
Yeah.
A large language model, ChatGPT, as a generalist, it can give you really a wide array of marketing tools and outputs, but most of them are going to be garbage. Let's be honest.
Right.
Type in, hey, ChatGPT, give me a LinkedIn post on blacksmiths in Alberta. And it'll give you a really generic garbage post on blacksmiths in Alberta. Now, a custom GPT, you're going to train it in your research process, your thought process. How do you do the thing? And then say, okay, based on our process, could you create a standard LinkedIn post on blacksmiths in Alberta? I'm not kidding, Emanuel. That was what I was doing yesterday. Was technically blades, but blacksmith blade.
I'm not even remotely surprised, and that is the most unusual blog post you probably could create, Jeff.
I do a lot of random strange things. Now the key is, and I'll just say this, a lot of people are playing with large language models and they're getting garbage results and they're deferring to the model and hoping the model gets better. What I love about a custom model is that you're taking a human who knows what they are doing, whether it's you or me or a team member, and we're giving them an AI enhanced process to do their work better and faster.
Yeah.
And I think that's everybody's worried AI is going to replace me. No. It's the person who knows how to use AI that's going to replace you.
Well, that and 25 or 30 years of business narratives and subject matter expertise, right? So let's talk about are there foundational documents that you put into each of these custom GPTs in order to help guide it? To explain that to me a little bit.
And I do not expect anyone to want to replicate this, but I have about as of today, 420-ish custom GPTs, and each one is an expert at one aspect of business. And really, truly, they're meant to help me or somebody else on my team do the work better. So I actually do have a framework that I use, and you can use language that feels different to you. I use what I call a soul doc. And basically, my soul doc, it tells the GPT very specifically what categories of experts guide it, what individual experts guide it. Spoiler alert, I don't build anything that doesn't have Bob Berg and John David Mann and the Go-Giver in it, because I want everything to add value. So we add the experts, then we get into the best practices. So for this task, here's a list of best practices, and again, this is where our expertise comes in. And then once I have the best practices, then I create the process that we follow. And I have a process for creating processes. And spoiler alert, I have a Chat GPT model that creates processes. But basically, I start with what are the inputs I need to create the thing I'm creating? What are the parameters, guidelines, etc. And then I get into what are the steps? How do I actually do the process? And then I have a quality control and a feedback loop at the end to make sure I'm generating something. And then the very last thing is I have the metrics of the output that I'm looking for. So it's really, really, and I just realized I was doing this by accident every single time. And I went, wait a minute, that's a process for creating processes. So I documented that, and I asked AI to ChatGPT to help me refine it. But basically, every soul doc has that sort of, let's call it the mechanics of it. But then there's also for me, I always have one of the inputs is the avatar. So if the avatar is missing, the process by design breaks down and says, whoa, where's the avatar? Because it pains me when people do marketing and then I ask them, well, who's your audience? Well, everybody.
Everybody, yeah. Right. That's how you know you're talking to a 101 class, because they're saying everybody. Yeah. Everybody
banging
needs
my
this.
head on the wall going, patience, Jeff, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh yeah, so you got avatar or ICP, those sorts of ideal client profiles. When you build this soul doc, it could be an agent job description. It would be another way to term it, right? How do you reference that in your prompting, or do you need to reference that in your prompting in those specialized
Okay,
GPTs?
so I have a weird brain, so I do weird things. So I'm going to just acknowledge that, do what works for you. But two things that work for me very well are hashtags and camel case. So hashtags, everybody understands that little cross thing. So in my documents, I have a hashtag, and then I'll say ICP. Now, camel case, it's basically, so I don't like spaces. They can cause confusion and extra tokens and blah, blah, blah. So every word, I mush them together and I capitalize the first letter of each word. That's called camel case. So I have, for example, hashtag ideal client profile, where the I, the C, and the P are capitalized. So in my prompts, I will directly refer. So surprise, surprise, my process is called hashtag process. I have hashtag feedback loop, hashtag whatever. It's just a shortcut for me. And what I realized was I'm creating my own vocabulary and my own system so that every time I know exactly what I'm doing.
So yeah, you're systematizing in order to get the value, time value of that. Let's say I'm a mid-level marketing executive and I'm just building my first series of these job descriptions for agents. How would I reference the agent's job description in my prompting in order to get, let's say it's built for LinkedIn posts based on blog posts on my website?
So what I do, so when you're building a custom GPT, my soul doc, or as you said, agent description, I'm a child, so I like to play. So soul doc felt better to me. In the actual system prompt, when I set up the AI, I tell it you are playing the role of, and I give a little description of what the role is. And I say, you're going to refer to your soul doc. And in the soul doc, you will find hashtag core objectives, hashtag ideal client profile, etc. You will use your best practices and your process to generate your outputs. So I actually shortcut. My system prompt is usually a couple of paragraphs at most, because the document's doing most of the work.
Yeah, because you've thought through it in advance and you're not having to prompt it technically each time.
Yeah. So believe it or not, the magic is in the conversation starters. And what I do is I have a single conversation starter for every one of my AIs for sure, and then I'll add others if I need it. But the conversation is, what inputs do you need from me in order to initiate your hashtag process? And the minute I do that, it goes straight to this. So some of them, the inputs might be user questions. Some of them, it might be, your avatar or your profile. things like that. But basically what it does, and this is where it gets really powerful for a team, if you or your best rock star person on the team creates the process, even your average, and I love this because your least functional team members, everybody rises up above average. And again,
Right.
it's not about eliminating humans, it's not about putting them out on the unemployment lines. It's about elevating everybody's abilities. And it's really cool because with the right process, and I think it was Michael Gerber said, your team rises to the level of process, not something else. But the idea is you can elevate everybody and you're getting better quality outputs. Now, this
Right.
is, again, the
Yep.
game I like to play. I never do a project without first building a custom GPT that represents the ideal client profile. So I
Nice.
have, and this is just weird habits, and I have a process for this. I understand how they think. I understand what their buying criteria is. I understand what annoys them, what frustrates them, what draws them in. So whenever I create content, whether it's marketing or guide materials, my avatar GPT says, I like this, I don't like that. Oh, you missed the mark here. Could you fix this? It helps me get that early feedback before I, do a big launch in crickets.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing worse in a marketing campaign than crickets.
And, from a manager's point of view, you can run stuff through a quality control GPT to make sure, does this have the para or does it have ADA or, whatever it is. You can just accelerate creativity because you've got, first of all, qualified humans at the keyboard creating it. And then AI just accelerates it. It's like a thesaurus / dictionary / whatever, infinitely faster.
Yeah. So what you're recommending is that we kind of take our processes and break them into very small functional chunks with a number of custom GPTs versus having just one general custom GPT.
And honestly, people, where do I start? There's so much. My advice is pick the thing that, number one, takes a lot of your time. Number two, it's recurring, so you have this every other, it's frequent. And number three, it drives you crazy. If you hate doing it, why wouldn't you want to get rid of it? So what I do is I'll pick something that maybe takes an hour a week and I have to do it every week. I'll find and build a custom GPT to do it. And literally that hour compresses into seconds because it's so much easier to review something than it is to sit and stare at a blank screen and create something. But then I'll reinvest that hour into what's the next thing I'm going to get rid of. And my goal for me personally, I started with, I was going to eliminate 5 hours a week. Then I got to 10, and now I'm somewhere at, how do I just work 4 hours a week? And AI does everything else.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have another conversation at some point about what you're doing with that time, because I'm fascinated to know about that. And I hope it's not just spending more time with AI.
I do some strange things now. I spend more time with my kids. Between you and me, we built some tools to help my kids with school, so they have their own custom GPTs. Nice. It is a balance. I spend some time on practical learning more about AI, but I also spend a lot of time practicing my writing, my hobbies. I'm weird. I do research for a hobby, so it helps me research better, faster. But generally speaking, it's all about, how can I leverage AI to make the world a better, brighter place? And some of it is me spending more time. I have an hour a day where I teach others how to use AI.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned that you're building these for your teams also. So explain to me a little bit about how you're build a custom GPT for a department or for a team of people, and what the
Sure.
mechanics of that
Well,
look like?
full disclosure, my background, I am a system guy. If it's not documented, it doesn't exist. And believe me, I've learned all the lessons about why that's important. I fought systems for years, and now I eat, sleep, and breathe systems. Um, Spoiler alert, I have a system for how we do laundry in our house. Like, I have systems for everything. My wife's like, "You need help," and I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm good."
No, I'm helping you, actually.
Everybody knows this is the way it gets done. So what I
Right.
discovered, and this has been my joy, is that systems make it easier for other people to help us. So that was the
Right.
first hurdle, was I have to do it myself. Nobody else will do it as well as I do. What I learned was, with the right system, and I think this is where a lot of entrepreneurs struggle, is we need to trust our team. We need to trust other people. So I first started by creating a system to systemize and standardize what I do. And then I created a system to translate that to my team so that they could understand it. And what I realized is most corporate training doesn't work because we ignore learning styles and things like that. So my avatar for custom GPT is the actual employee, and we reframe the language so that it speaks their dominant learning style. And some people
Right.
it's auditory, some people it's visual. I'm reading and writing. Some people are tactile, they need to tear things apart and build them. But basically, we tailor the system to the person. And it's fascinating because what that does is, number one, the person trusts the system because it speaks like them, it acts like them. But then they start to see that it's there to help them, not replace them. So basically, what I do, I start with me. I look at, how do I free up? And I do this with my clients all the time. We start with the founder. We prove to them, whatever their goal is. Maybe they want to save 5 hours. Maybe it's 10. We free that up. And then we do that with their team. And what I find fascinating, and this goes back to the Covey matrix, we all have things that are not urgent, but they're important. Those are the big tactical or strategic things that are going to move us ahead. The idea is, when we free up the tactical time, we're getting rid of those urgent, not important things. What AI does is it allows us to have some pondering time. And to me, I think if you look back, we've lost that. Let's take a minute. Let's ponder what could be. We spend so much time focusing on how do we get things done. We're not asking, should we do these things, or, could we do something different? And if you want to make Jeff's head explode, Emanuel, just a fun thing, just say, but that's the way we've always done it, Jeff. My head, boom, it explodes.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, well, I really appreciate this conversation. I got one more kind of flyer question for you, which is, explain to me a little bit about how your prompt writing is different for deep research and for something like Notebook LM versus just ChatGPT activity, daily activity.
So really, truly, I kind of do a light version of research when I'm doing day-to-day stuff, because I will give it some parameters. But basically, what I always do, whether it's deep research or day-to-day, is I give it context, I give it a role, I give it best practices. The big difference is, when I'm doing deep dive research, I will tell it what I know with 100% certainty. I will tell it the things I've heard that I don't know if they're true or not. And then I will say, you have my permission to do some, I use what I call a hashtag wildcard, and basically bring in a really diverse, if I'm doing research on AI, what would Martin Short have to say about this? Because it breaks up my biases. But the other thing I do when I do deep research is I share my take on the Dunning-Kruger effect, which basically says if you don't know something, you think you know more than you do, whereas if you do know something, you think you know less just because you know how much you don't know. I always add,
Right.
the Dunning-Kruger effect is lurking. Please make sure it doesn't bite us in the butt afterwards. And that just weird little twist, you can do whatever you do, but for me, Dunning-Kruger means something. And so it always looks for, what do I know with certainty that is not true? And what do I not
Right.
know that I need to know?
Yeah. Love it. That's powerful, and that's a great twist on it. Well, Jeff, you and I, of course, could talk about this for another 6 hours and still not be tired. But I know you got a lot of other things to do, like go hang out with your boys, probably.
They're done school, so they're home now. So yes,
that's awesome. People want to get in touch with you. How do they do that?
The easiest, best place is LinkedIn. I'm sure you'll have the spelling of my last name. I won't spell it, but I am active on LinkedIn, and my business website is pharosbusiness.com.
Yeah, everything will be in show notes, and I really am very appreciative of your time and your insights on custom GPTs, Jeff. Thank you so much for spending some time.
Always a pleasure to hang out with you. So thank you for having me on the show.
All right, we'll see you soon. All right. Well, we started general. We took a deep dive into custom GPTs. I think the biggest takeaway, if you're just getting started, is to spend some time thinking about it, interacting with your preferred model, and building a general custom GPT, and then starting to look at how you build very specific tactical GPTs for yourself, so that you can get five hours back in your work week. And my hope with that 5 hours that you spend that either upskilling, or getting time with your friends and family, or getting outside in nature by yourself, where you can take a deep breath and think about why it is you're here, and what you're going to do with the extra time. It's Emanuel Rose, Marketing in the Age of AI.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.